الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونستنصره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا ولم يكن له كفوا أحد وأشهد أن نبينا وعظيمنا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وحبيبه اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد يقول جل جلاله في محكم كتابه إن الإنسان خلق هلوعا إذا مسه الشر جزوعا وإذا مسه الخير منوعا إلا المصلين. I was convinced to continue trying with this series, so I'm going to give it another shot this week and next week, and if I can fit all the information in a khutbah, I'll continue with it. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to something different. Before I start with this khutbah, it's worthwhile taking a moment to recognize the Truth and Reconciliation Day that's coming up at the end of September. Now, I've never been a great fan of these days, these quote-unquote days that they offer persecuted minorities or catastrophes that people have brought upon others, and they offer them a day within the year where they can stand, we can talk about them for a moment and then go back to forgetting them. The people of this land, the red man who lived on this land, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put on this land produced him, was overrun and overridden by the they call them settlers because they don't want to call them colonialists or invaders or whatever else they should be called. They call them settlers. It's just a nicer way to describe them. But the Europeans made their way over here and decide that this land was going to be theirs. And the only way to do that was to murder everyone here or to enslave them. And if that wasn't enough, they decided that those who stayed alive amongst them, that they were savages and were not worthy or did not deserve to hold on to their identity and to their languages and to their beliefs. So they opened 100 or over 100 residential schools where they stripped children from their mothers and fathers and put them in so they could be completely wiped out in terms of identity and language. And somehow it was fine to do this within a couple of decades ago. Like a few decades ago this happened. This did not happen a few centuries ago or a millennium ago. It's just a few decades ago, a few hundred years ago this happened. And for all their troubles and all of the blood that was shed and the people that were murdered and the families that were destroyed and the identities that were erased, we're going to offer them a day a year because that will make up for all of it for sure. So forgive me if I'm not always enthusiastic about these days that they offer people. The truth of the matter is that this oppression that occurred upon the people who lived on this land has never been removed and probably never will be. But the point of it that I carry for you and me, because this is the point, that this is all I care about, for you and me as Muslims, if you don't recognize that, and if you don't care about it equally to the care that you have for the people of Palestine and other parts of the Muslim world who are being oppressed, whether it's in China or India or Somalia or Sudan, wherever they may be, in parts that I'll probably forget today where they're being persecuted, wherever they may be, if you don't see that act of oppression that occurred to the people of this land to be equal in its atrocity and its audacity to what happened or is happening to Muslims elsewhere, then we will not solve our problems. Because because truthfulness and righteousness is one thing. Either you accept all of it, either you recognize all oppression as oppression, either you recognize all persecution as persecution that is worthy of changing, or you don't. You can't cherry pick. You can't decide that the persecution of my people and the oppression that happened to the people that look like me is more important and more valuable than what happened to other people. Once you say that or you think that or you behave that way, then your cause automatically will no longer be godly, it won't be righteous, and it will lose its moral stance, and we will fail eventually in claiming it. And that's why Muslims have always stood by haqq and always against batil, always with the mazloom, always against the zalim, regardless of what those people dress like or what they're with. Doesn't matter who the people of haqq within the scenario or the people of mazlumiyya are. They could be Muslim, they could be non-Muslim. Just like the people of batil and the people of dhulm, of oppression, they could be Muslim and non-Muslim. For us, when it comes to this, when it comes to righteousness and truthfulness, when it comes to oppression and justice, we don't look at the deen, nor do you look at the color or the culture or the race or anything. We just look at this pure concept, the pure value of haqq and batil, of adl and dhulm. That's all we look at. Everything else is erased. We don't care about it. And that's why this day is helpful for us to remind ourselves that what happened to the person who lived here is what's happening to the people in Palestine, it's what's happened to a lot of Muslims elsewhere, and people of different races and ethnicities all around the world historically and today. And as Muslims, we do not sell out and we don't compromise this one ethic. We don't compromise any of our ethics, but for sure not this one, because that's what he came to represent, alayhi salatu wasalam. There's no dhulm. That dhulm is rejected, regardless of who it is, regardless of who you reject dhulm at all costs. Doesn't matter who's doing it. You will never stand by a zalim. The Prophet ﷺ, when he told the Sahaba, "Unsur akhaka zaliman aw mazluman," the famous hadith that you know, stand by your brother whether he's oppressed or oppressed. The Sahaba had to ask him, oppressed we understand, but how do we do that when he's oppressing? You told us specifically that we don't do that. فَقَالَ تَرُدُّهُ أَوْ تَصُدُّهُ عَنْ ظُلْمِهِ, depending on the narration. You hold him back from dhulm, meaning your responsibility becomes if he is standing on your side of the rails and he is oppressing, then your job becomes to hold him back from oppression. You have a job. You can't just watch. You can't be neutral. Say, well, I'm not going to say anything because, he's a Muslim brother. So no. Your job becomes you have to push it back against him. You have to hold him back. If he is truly your brother, then that's what you're going to do. And if he's not, then we go back to the same idea. You stand up against dhulm. We have to recognize the lands that we stand on, the people who once owned them, the people, their descendants who are still alive today, who will never get that haqq given back to them. It's sad that there are huquq in this life that are gone. They'll never come back until Yawm al-Qiyamah. There's no way to fix this. There's no way to fix it. You can't fix what happened in North America. Khalas, it's done. So unfortunately, it's a very sad thing. It's a very sad thing that someone can be oppressed and that's it. This will never be fixed in dunya. It'll never go back. The huquq, the rights will never go back to the righteous owners ever again. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So we walk on this land with humility and humbleness and respect and acknowledgement of what the people who lived here went through. And we understand ourselves as guests on this land. Guests in maybe to people who never really got a choice got a chance to choose whether they wanted guests or not. And acknowledging that is a part of us acknowledging the rights of the people of Palestine and the Holy Land and other parts of the world where this continues to happen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all the madhalim, all of those who are oppressed, justice and salvation in this life before Yawm al-Qiyamah. Allahumma ameen. The verses that I started the khutbah out with are different than what I talked about last week. Last week, I explained to you so the Quran is looking at character. The Quran's main influence and main interest at the beginning, at least, was to change character, to say this is how you are as a human being, this is what you usually do, this has to stop. You have to behave this way. Change this now. And the Sahaba who listened to these words and actually applied them is that generation that changed the world. And it still applies today to all of us, and we have to go back and listen to it again. And last week I talked to you about how the human being behaves when he wants something or he's afraid of something. So when a person wants something, if he gets what he wants, he has to be aware not to become entitled, but rather to feel grateful. If he gets what he's afraid of, right, then he has to be aware not to become desperate, or not to fall into despair, but rather be resilient and perseverant. If he's asking for something or he can't be greedy. He should not show greed, but rather he should show content. Right? This is what the human being wanting and being afraid of things. Today is different. Today is not about what the human being wants, desires, or is afraid of. It's just going to talk about one of the most intrinsic qualities that the human being has in his life as the world or as time deals the different hands to him. And that's why the ayah says, Innal insan, indeed the human being, khuliqa, was created, meaning this is a part of your creation. It's inside each and every one of us. By nature, there's no getting away from it. You cannot escape this. The only way to actually deal with it is to figure out what can be changed. And that's what these verses explain to us. It's very important. Because we are by nature, we have hala. Innal insana khuliqa halu'a. The human being was created in a state of hala. The word hala in Arabic, to translate it into English, the best I can do is panicky. The human being was created in a state of panic, or a state where he's quick to lose composure. The human being is quick to lose composure and panic, and it's rooted in a very deep fear that exists inside the human being, based on just how we are. We were designed to survive, and the only way you can survive is if you are panicky. If you're not panicky, you won't survive. If you're not afraid from everything, then you're probably evolutionarily going to die pretty early on. Something's going to catch you. If you are quick to trust, if you're calm, then most likely out in the wilderness, you're going to be taken out pretty quickly. So the only way to survive is to have that panicky quality. The problem is after we're no longer living in the jungle and we're no longer that way, that quality continues with us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, khuliqa halu'a. He was created with this halu'a, so panicky. Loses composure really quickly. And then he explains that subhanahu wa ta'ala a little bit more, because it's very important. These two qualities or characteristics that the Quran talk about are worthy of contemplation, so that we can take their opposite or change them. إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا. When evil. So why evil? In the Quran rarely uses the word evil. The Quran uses the word dur, which is harm, because it's only evil if you'd misuse it, like if you don't deal with it appropriately, if it causes you to perform kufr, then it's evil. Because Yawm al-Qiyamah, any difficulty you had that you showed perseverance for, you're going to be rewarded for, so it's not really evil. The reason that the Quran uses in this space or in this ayah, and the ayah of last week, the word evil, is because it's looking at it from the perspective or the point of view of the human being. I don't see dur, I don't see harm and ease. I see good and evil, just like you do. We don't understand it that way. Now, the reality of the matter is there's really no pure evil that happens to you. It's either ease or difficulty. You can make it goodness by perseverance and gratitude, or you can turn it into evil by loss of composure or lack of good behavior. So even a gift of wealth can be evil to you Yawm al-Qiyamah because you blundered it away. You didn't spend it appropriately. So evil and goodness are terms that are usually used to describe outcomes Yawm al-Qiyamah. But in this ayah specifically, he uses that term. He doesn't say إِذَا مَسَّهُ الضُّرُّ. No, he says إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ. Because the human being, when difficulty comes his way, he sees it as evil. That's the perspective or the point of view of the person, of the human being. which is its own problem that we're going to talk about in a different khutbah. But what happens when the human being is touched or finds evil or difficulty in his life? Jazua. He has jaza', which is the opposite of patience or perseverance. Jaza' is the lack of. It's being impatient. It's the loss of composure. When difficulty comes his way, he's impatient. He needs things to end quickly. Whatever shar that has come his way, whatever difficulty that he's experiencing, he needs it to end quickly. One of the interesting aspects of the story of Ayyub alayhi salam is that when he lost everything, when he absolutely lost everything, and he lost everything. He lost his health, he lost his wealth, he lost his family, you could say he lost his prophecy even, because no one was listening to him. He was still a prophet of God, obviously, alayhi salatu wasalam, no one was listening to him, so he lost his status, he lost his leadership. Everything that you could lose as an accomplished man, he lost. And he was perseverant, and he was patient. And his wife once, she complained, and she told him, "What, will you not make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove this?" So he said something, and you'll find this in the books of Siyar and Tawarikh, where he said, "أني لأستحيي أن أدعو ربي أن يزيل عني هذه الشدة قبل أن أقضي في الشدة ما قضيته في اليسر." That I'm embarrassed and ashamed to turn to Allah and say, "Ya Rabb, remove this difficulty from me before I spend within difficulty that the equal amount of time that I spent in ease." Like I had 60 years of ease. Before I do 60 years of difficulty, I feel embarrassed to say, "You need to remove this," because they understood the concept of impatience. Now, none of us are like that because we're impatient, by nature. But there are certain degrees of this impatience that the Quran is talking about. The person is massahu shar, touched by difficulty, jazua, loses patience right away. Jaza' is when someone says, "I can't take it anymore. Enough is enough. I can't carry this anymore. I don't have the ability to be patient or perseverant anymore." وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ, and if he's touched by ease, wealth or health or anything that the human heart wants, manu'a. There's no translation for the word manu'a in English. And I looked. The closest thing I have for you is stinginess. And stinginess is mostly bukhl, really. Al-mana' is when you hold back, when you withhold something. Al-mana' wal-ata', they're the opposite of one another. Al-mana' is when you hold something back. You could give it, but you won't give it. The human being, by nature, this is by nature. This is the nature of everyone sitting here, myself obviously first. When we are touched by evil or difficulty, our first instinct, our first reflex is jazua, is to become impatient. To become very impatient, to feel like this is too much and I can't carry it anymore, and I can't deal with it, and I need a solution immediately. And if I'm given ease, I want to hold it back. I don't want to share. You see children? This is how children are. This never goes away. This stays with you as you grow up. We just learn to mask it because it doesn't look very good. But deep down inside, it's the exact same reflex a 3-year-old has. When a 3-year-old loses something that he wants or she wants, they're very impatient. They can't wait. They will give you, if you're a parent, you know what I'm talking. They will absolutely ruin your day. If they want something and you're telling them just wait for a few moments, no, they don't understand that. The human being, the nature of the human being is that they don't know how to wait. They need it now, even though they don't really need it now. They just want it now. So they have no patience when they don't get what they want. And if you give them something and ask them to share it, it's a fun ordeal because it's impossible to get them to share. They won't share it, not with you, not with their mother. And if they do, it's a big deal. Everyone knows it's a big deal. Oh, a 3-year-old shared something, even though it's not really something worth sharing. It's nothing to begin with because that's the nature of the human being. That's the nafs. We know that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not chastising you. He's saying your nature, oh son of Adam, oh insan, oh human being, you are halua. You are panicky by nature. When bad things come to you, you're very impatient. You lose composure. And when good things come to you, you hold back. And then, of course, the verses say, إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ, except the musallin. And then it goes on to explain those who embrace salah and accept that book and how they change themselves and they're not like that anymore. That's the whole point of these verses. We focus on إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ to the end. No, the focus is on the verses before. The focus is on changing that piece. Is not being jazua and manua, not being impatient and stingy. And withhold, no, not to change that. So all of the descriptions that exist after إلا المصلين الذين هم على صلاتهم دائمون والذين في أموالهم حق معلوم للسائل والمحروم والذين يصدقون بيوم الدين, etc. to the end, are all there to say that these characteristics will, if you embrace them appropriately, you will no longer be like that. You can change that nature that you have, that hala. You can control it and bring in the opposites. Instead of being jazur, instead of being someone who's impatient, you become someone sabur. You become someone who's perseverant. Life hits you hard. You don't lose composure. You're perseverant. You're not manu' anymore. You don't withhold. You don't feel the need to hold back aid. You have karam. You become generous. The more Allah gives you, the more you give. The more is given to you, the more that you give. You don't feel the need to hold it back. It's interesting. It's interesting, these verses. Let me just show you how the Quran is connected. So he said here, إِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا. Manu'a, he holds it back. He shouldn't. And this is obviously saying this is a bad thing. It has to change. And then he says, إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ. Only twice in the Quran does Allah use that term. It's always مُقِيمِي الصَّلَاة, right? الْمُقِيمِينَ الصَّلَاة. Never musallin, only twice. Here, and it's almost, I believe Allah put it that way as a code, because there's another time he uses it. He uses it again, but not in a good context, right? At the end of the Quran, he says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. So woe to the people to the musallin. It's eye-opening, because usually it's not a warning of punishment for the musallin. It's the opposite. But what's wrong with these musallin? What's the last verse in the ayah, in the surah? وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ. See, these musallin didn't learn. These musallin did not actually change the characteristic. They stayed manu'a. He said, إِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ. The person is panicky. The human being is panicky. He's impatient when it's difficult, and he's stingy and it holds back when he has something, except the musallin. They're not like that. They change. They become perseverant, and they become generous. So then he comes to Surah Al-Ma'un and says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. I warned the musallin of a horrible punishment. Why, Ya Rab? Well, yes, عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ and يُرَاءُونَ. Yes, they're not doing their prayer appropriately. But وَيَمْنَعُونَ, the same word. يَمْنَعُونَ, the same word. They hold back aid. They withhold aid. They didn't learn. Their salah did not allow them to become someone who stopped withholding aid, who became generous. Those people will be, La ilaha illallah. This is how the Quran looks at it. You're praying? Okay, that means you're no longer jazua or manua. You're not like that anymore, correct? You are? Then we have a problem. فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ then. If you're manua, then waylun lak. But I'm praying, it doesn't matter. That prayer was there so that you were learning to salli. You were learning all of these things so that you would stop being like that. So you wouldn't be like that anymore. What's the point if you're still like that? What's the point if when life deals you different hands? Bad, you're impatient and you lose composure. You sell out, you compromise, you steal, you beg. You no longer have integrity. What's the point? What's the point if when you're given ease, you become stingy, you hold it back? You can give, but you don't want to give. You have room to offer, but you won't. You see someone who needs it and you can offer it, but you don't want to do it. إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ يَا إخواني. Except the musallin, they don't do that. They have overcome that nature. That's the whole point. This is what the Quran is teaching us. This is what the Quran is teaching us. This is how the human being's nature is. That needs to change. You cannot be like this if you're going to carry the deen. And this is what you have to teach your kids and teach yourself, obviously, first. That's why when the Prophet ﷺ says, sabru shatrul iman, right? Sabr, perseverance is half of the iman. And the scholars would take that and, of course, expand on it. And this is not my work. This is the work of all the scholars before me. That half of the iman is sabr, and the other half is shukr, right? Is gratitude. Why? Because if it's difficult, then you don't lose composure and become impatient. You show perseverance. And when it's easy, you become grateful. How do you show gratitude? By giving, which is generosity. So this is it's all perfectly put together. This is what iman is. Iman is you're in one of two situations as a human being. Either you're getting something that you don't like, shar, you see it that way, or you're getting something that you like, khair. Either way, your first instinct is jaza' and mana'. You're going to want to lose composure and be impatient, or you're going to want to hold it on all for yourself. If a mu'min is sabir when it's difficult, and is shakir, will give from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him. That's why when they describe him, alayhi salatu wasalam, how do they describe him? كَانَ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَسَلَّمَ أَجْوَدَ بِالْخَيْرِ مِنَ الرِّيحِ الْمُرْسَلَةِ. He was more generous when it came to giving than the sent winds with matar. with winds that were sent with rain. Back, of course, in the desert, that's a big deal. They would feel that the Prophet ﷺ was like a wind sent with rain. ﷺ. He was so generous. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه يغفر لكم يا فوز المستغفرين استغفر الله. الحمد لله وحده وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اتبع نهجه ووفى عهده. إخواني وأخواتي، في هذه الخطب قد أقتصر في الترجمة على كلمات قليلات لأن الوقت لن يسعفني على يعني بشرح الموضوع باللغتين العربية والإنجليزية، الأمر يستحيل، فستكون الترجمة يعني خفيفة ويعني وقصيرة. والمعنى في اللغة العربية لا يحتاج إلى كثير إلى إطالة ولا إلى كثير كلام. الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن هكذا يصف ابن آدم، يصف الإنسان، ليس تشنيعا عليه، ليس مسبة لابن آدم، ليس شتما لابن آدم، ولكن ذكرا لخاصياته، لطبيعته، لغرائزه. أنت هكذا مخلوق هكذا، يعني ذنبك أنت خلقت هلوعا؟ لا، أنا ما أقول ذنبك أنك خلقت هلوعا، أنت خلقت هكذا، لكن ذنبك إذا أبقيت على هذا الهلع، ذنبك إذا علمت أنك خلقت هكذا وكان بإمكانك أن تغير هذه الطبيعة في نفسك ولم تغيرها وأبقيت عليها، هذا ذنبك. أما كلنا هكذا مخلوقون، لا لوم على طفل ولا لوم على إنسان ضعف إذا هلع في لحظة من اللحظات فجزع عند المصيبة ومنع عند العطاء من الله سبحانه وتعالى. لكن القرآن يقول لك المصلي الذي عرف الله وعرف شريعة الله والتزم بقدوته محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام لا يبقى هكذا، لا يبقى جزوعا منوعا، لا يغير. المصلي هذا يصبح كريما. الذين في أموالهم حق معلوم للسائل والمحروم. حق معلوم، كيف حق معلوم؟ هو يجعل في ماله حقا حتى لا يمنع. هذا الذي يشفق من عذاب ربه فيصبر، يرى أن عذاب ربه هذا الذي يشفق منه، لا عذاب الدنيا. عذاب الدنيا هذا زمان قصير ويمضي أي عذاب في الدنيا، لكن عذاب الآخرة لا يمضي. فيا إخواني، هذه القضية مهمة جدا في ديننا، لأن القرآن أتى بها. أتى القرآن يغير من طباع الناس، غير طبائع الصحابة. والله كيف تفسر التغيير التاريخي الذي حصل في منطقتنا منذ 1400 عام إلا أن القرآن أتى فغير طبائع الناس، أخبرهم أنتم هكذا، صيروا هكذا، غيروا، بدلوا، لا تكن منوعا عند الخير جزوعا عند المصيبة. تغير يا أخي، تغير. فتغيروا فتعلموا أنه فكانت إذا أتتهم مصيبة كانوا أصبر، وكان إذا أتاهم الخير كانوا أشكر من غيرهم. ومن كل الناس ترى فيهم زهدا في الدنيا، حبا في الآخرة، حبا في العطاء، وجدوا اللذة في العطاء. وكان أحدهم إذا لم يبتلى بمصيبة ولم يثقل كاهله بالحمل يتساءل هل ربه يستدرجه، هل ربه يستدرجه. هذا الفهم للدنيا تغير عندهم يا أخواني، هذا جيل تغير عنده المفهوم. وإذا أردنا أن نغير من واقعنا علينا أن نتغير نحن وأن نعلم أولادنا ما أتى القرآن من أجله. You see, the Prophet ﷺ, one of the ways that he was described, this is very important because these are the pieces of the Quran. This is what the Quran came and actually focused on, at least in the Mecca period. The Quran was very focused on this. It needed to change characteristics. Your character had to change. Everyone here is halua. No one is born differently. So no one can be shamed for this. The point of Allah saying this in the Quran is not to shame the human being. Oh, you are panicky. Shame on you. No, that's how you are. The shame is if you know that that's how you are, and you know that that can change, and you still don't change it. And you can ask me, well, how do I change it? I can't fit that in these khutbahs. I can't. You're going to have to go figure that out on your own. I'm just telling you that this is what the Quran said. The Quran said that this is how you are, this is what you need to become, and you can change. And then it taught you a lot of things, so go learn them. It's impossible to fit all these things. But when the Prophet ﷺ was described, and I love this description, and it's exactly what fits this story here. A man was given by him ﷺ wealth, and he was given so much wealth after Hunayn that he walked away saying to people on his way, he would meet people on the way, and he would say these things. He would say, اذهبوا فآمنوا بمحمد صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Go and accept his whatever he's teaching. Whatever he's teaching, I don't know what it is. I'm not clear on it yet. I've accepted it. I'm not clear on it. Just go and accept it. فإنه يعطي عطاء من لا يخشى الفقر. This is an impossible description. He says he gives as if he has no fear of poverty, as if he's not scared of being poor.
Every human being is scared of being poor. That's the panicky part inside of us. We're all scared of being poor. That's why we hold it back when we're given it. That's why we become impatient when we don't get what we want, because we're scared. It's rooted in fear of being poor, fear of not having enough. He said, I watched this man. Sallallahu alayhi wa sahbihi ajma'in. I watched this man. He gives as if he has no fear of poverty. As if he's not scared of not having anything. I don't know how he does it. But whatever it is that he is teaching allowed him to be like that. So go learn from him, because that's how you should live your life. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And that's how the Sahaba lived their lives. And if you want to follow into with this story, go ahead, follow in this story. Go look at Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Imam Ali, and look at these people, and look at how they lived their lives and how they gave when they had, and how they lived their lives with nothing. And you listen to them teach and talk, and you didn't know that they had the biggest musibah back home. You didn't know that they were living illness and disease and death and loss and sorrow. You didn't know that, because they held themselves with such composure. They fooled you. You would think everything is fine, but everything is not fine. But they've learned to carry it with grace. And when they had, they gave as if because they learned this book, they studied it appropriately. And this is what I want you to think about for the remainder of this week. I hope that was a benefit to you. Forgive me for taking too long. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ أَمَرَنَا بِأَمْرٍ عَظِيمٍ فَقَالَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. وارض اللهم عن الأربعة الخلفاء السادة الحنفاء أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي. وارض اللهم عن أزواجه أمهات المؤمنين وعن آله الطيبين الطاهرين وعن صحابته الغر الميامين وعن التابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وعنا معهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم فرج هموم المهمومين ونفس كروب المكروبين وارفع الغم عن المغمومين وارفع الظلم عن المظلومين واحقن دماءنا ودماء المسلمين. اللهم احقن دماء إخواننا المستضعفين في كل مكان. احقن دماءهم في غزة فلسطين وفي السودان وفي اليمن وفي الهند وفي باكستان وفي غيرها من بلاد الأرض يا رب العالمين، ما علمنا منها وما لم نعلم. اللهم رد المسجد الأقصى إلى رحاب المسلمين. أخرج الصهاينة منه أذلة صاغرين. اللهم ارزقنا أجمعين فيه صلاة قبل الممات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم ردنا أجمعين إليك وإلى دينك ردا جميلا، وتب علينا اللهم من جميع ذنوبنا توبة نصوحا طهرنا بها قلبا وجسدا وروحا، وما ذلك عليك اللهم بعزيز، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي